breaking news just as we went live, and it's a bomber from Ornstein, and a deal that might get the market moving a little quicker. And it's Newcastle United have made an offer to sign Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest, a bid in the region of £45 million. Forest rejected without a counter, no intention of selling the Swede. Newcastle are considering whether to maintain the pursuit or focus on another player. Now, first of all, I've got to say one thing. How dare you, Newcastle? How dare you? You always get really angry when anyone talks about or tries to buy one of your players. I hope every single Newcastle fan is online right now condemning their football club for trying to improve, because they are the most sensitive fan base in the world when you talk about their players. You must have all seen it. It's crazy. But there they are, £45 million bid. What do you think Elanga wants? Do you think Elanga fancies Newcastle, or do you think he'll stay where he's happy?
He's got to go Newcastle. He's got to go Newcastle. But I think this is a bit of an underwhelming signing from a Newcastle point of view. He's a good player, yeah. Don't get me wrong. And I think if they was bringing him as a squad player, I'd be saying that's a great signing, yeah. But Newcastle now, yeah, are a team that needs to be making signings, in my opinion, to push them closer to the Premier League. Because you look at the striker, mint. You look at the midfield, mint. Yeah, they're going to get a new goalkeeper, right? They're going to make him moves. But for me, I don't think Elanga. I think Elanga is not that guy. He's not that guy, man. For Newcastle, I think it's a credit to Newcastle, because I think Newcastle have gone past Elanga. I think they're better than Elanga. I do. You know, Jacob Murphy was fantastic last year. I don't even think there's any guarantee that Elanga would be better than Murphy. The performances that Murphy was putting in last year. So for me, I think this is an underwhelming signing. Unless they're going to sign him on top of another player, I don't know. But if I was a Newcastle fan and this is the new right winger, I think this would be disappointing, man. And again, I say that from a positive point of view from Newcastle, because I think they're better than him, with all due respect. And I think he's a good player, and I think he's a good squad rotator for Newcastle. But Newcastle don't need a squad rotator. They need a new right winger that is just mint. So yeah, that's my take. I think this is an L move for Newcastle.
Yeah, I agree with LB. I don't mind Elanga. I think he's all right. I think he's quite a good player. But that is not exciting for Newcastle. I'm not going to say we're disappointed with them so far, because, like, you know, there's a lot of clubs that haven't moved, including my club, right? But I don't think this is a needle mover for Newcastle at all. I don't think you look at this signing and go, right, that's taken them to next level. A few more like that and they're ready for a title race. I actually genuinely think Newcastle should be going to the next level for that. I think they should be going and putting in bids for Kudus. I think they should be putting in bids for Mbeumo. I think they should be looking at players that are, I would say that the PSV lad that we were linked with the other day, is it Bakayoko? I would say is a better player than what Elanga could be. I think he's an all right player, but I don't think he's like elite level. I think he's an upgrade on Murphy. I'd say he's had a better season than Murphy. I think Murphy's in his 30s now. Elanga did well for Forest. I think he had a good season, but I don't think it's an elite signing. And when I look at the players that Newcastle were linked with, I truly expected them to be going all out for a top quality goalkeeper, not James Trafford. I don't know what LB thinks, but that would not scare me at all if you're getting him. He was brilliant in the Championship for Burnley. Yeah, and he got outdone by Muric, mate. It was the one that Ipswich had that was awful because he was so bad last season in the Premier League, because he is so lightweight and just gets flicked over. No, thank you. I wouldn't want him. I hope they get him, because it means that we've got some easy goals to score against Newcastle, but I don't think they should be going for him. Gehi, why they're not going for him? He starts every game for Newcastle. That would be a good signing. In relation to the winger, I think it should be an Mbeumo type. That's the sort of players I thought they should be going for, personally. And instead, they're trying to hang on to Isak. They're trying to hang on to, Livramento. I'm thinking, where are they going here? What are Newcastle actually doing? Because I thought they were going to go to next level this season. And so far, I know it's early days, but it's looking like they're trying to keep hold of their best players, and they're going for Forest and Burnley's goalkeeper and winger. I don't get it, personally. I thought they were going to that next level. Maybe they're not. Maybe me and LB are going too much, and maybe Newcastle are not as good as what me and LB think. But I thought they were ready to go now. I thought they were ready to try and compete for a title next season. Real talk. But I don't think they will with signings like Elanga and Trafford. I don't know about you two, but...
Well, Trafford's an interesting one, because he was phenomenal this year for Burnley by all accounts. So You know, if he's bulked up a little bit, then that might work. But yeah, if you say they need more top quality players, man. Like the thing is with Newcastle now, for me, like they're at that stage now where they need to make that jump to become a title challenging team. Yeah, they're in the Champions League again. They've already been in the Champions League, so I just feel that signing players like Elanga, mate, I just think this isn't the right type of signing, man, in my opinion, for Newcastle. So yeah, that's what I'd say. If I was a Newcastle fan, I'd be disappointed with that because, and like I say, it's a madness because it sounds bad, isn't it? Because Elanga's a good player. But I just don't think is he much better than Murphy? Murphy last year, by the way, was phenomenal. Yeah, don't get it twisted.
I think he's better, but I don't look at him and go, he's levels ahead of him. No, I don't think so.
That's the point. They need level raisers, man. They need getting players in that are gonna jump them up the league and get them competing. So yeah, now
I like Newcastle as well, man. I've got to say, I like Newcastle. I know you do as well, a little bit. You glaze them like I do. I've been impressed with their midfield trio. I think Isak's phenomenal. But all I keep hearing with Newcastle is that Liverpool want Isak and Gordon, Man City want Livramento, and they're going for Elanga and Trafford. And I'm like, scratching my head thinking, that ain't what I thought Newcastle summer was going to be like. Now, I could be wrong, and they could keep all their players. They could go mad in the last few weeks, and we go, there we go. Newcastle are going to go for a title. But those sort of signings, they ain't going to do nothing, in my opinion.
I agree.
I get what you both said about Elanga. I think he'll want to do. This is the thing. I mean, historically, Forest are a bigger football club, but on paper, Newcastle are going further than I think Forest can. That their owners are just that much wealthier. At the same time, though, and I want to ask you guys this as a question before I give my opinion. So we do something similar on Top 6 Show. I've created a different version for Straight Facts, and it's called Goal or Gimmick. Goal means you agree with the point. Gimmick, you think it's bullshit. So someone sent this in to me as a suggestion, and this is the question. Newcastle are not aiming too low. They're just not above this level yet.
I think that's gimmick, and I'll tell you why I think that's gimmick. They got Champions League football. They're the richest club in England, from what we understand. And when we had this with Manchester City and Chelsea, there wasn't like, they can't say Yaya Toure. They ain't at that level yet. They went and got him. Oh, they can't go and get, Arjen Robben. They're not at that level. A Didier Drogba, not feeling like they're at that level. All these signings were top quality. Manchester City, let's go before what I just said in Yaya. They went and got Robinho, yeah? They weren't at that level. They were just been taken over in 2008 or whatever it was. 2009, they'd signed Robinho, hadn't they? Newcastle can go and get what they want. Personally, I don't agree with that. I don't think Newcastle should be going.
The only caveat to what you're saying is when Man City's owners came in and when Chelsea's owners came in, Chelsea had a decade of this, City had about 5 years. There's no limitations to how much owners could spend. So where I agree with you, they've got the richest owners in the country, but that wealth means nothing because they can only pump £90 million a year in. Like I said before, you can have an owner as rich as the Saudis or someone who's worth 500 million. They're still both limited to £90 million of investment every 3 years. So all barring your connections for sponsors, and by the way, it's not as though they're not landing sponsors that are abnormal. It doesn't really matter. Like whether you've got 1 billion or 10 billion, if you can only put 90 million every 3 years into your club, that extra 9 billion is almost irrelevant, if that makes sense. What City had as an advantage in Chelsea more so, they had 10 years. It was unlimited spending.
Okay, no, we'll stop there, though. Stop there, because I agree. As much as I agree with that, and I understand what the chat's saying, PSR stopped it. Yeah, PSR stopped it 2 years ago, but not now. Newcastle can easily go out and get what they want now because there's nothing to stop them going and get a top level right winger. And by the way, we're not talking.
There is.
What do you mean?
You've already seen it. Do you know what stopped them getting a top level right winger? Was Man United. They wanted in Burmo. I think what you're forgetting, and I'm not digging Newcastle out. They've got great owners. They're going places. I keep praising them for it. But Arsenal and City, maybe Tottenham, but definitely Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, they're all ahead of them in the pecking order. There's 6 or 7 teams in England that are still bigger than them fighting for the same players. I think it's going to take this is why when they first got taken over, every level-headed Newcastle fan I spoke to agreed with this is like a 10-year product until they're at that point. And they're only 3 or 4 years in. There's so many teams out there that are still more attractive. And because they can't throw obscene money, because let's be honest, what Chelsea and City did in their early takeover days, they did throw ridiculous money, contracts on the, well, I mean, they're being investigated for it now, contracts on the side. I mean, Chelsea have grasped themselves up to sign players. They were paying agents from offshore accounts. That stuff doesn't, do you get where I'm coming from? Like, I get your point. And
so
I think they should
put 70 million. So they can't put 70 million down on Kudus.
I mean, there are. Listen, I think they should. They could get Kudus, absolutely, but they're not getting Kudus ahead of Arsenal or Chelsea if they're in for him as well.
They're not in for him.
So what you're saying?
Well, no, they've been quiet about it.
So what you're saying is you're not disagreeing they can't afford these players. You're saying the players won't want to come to Newcastle because they'd rather go to Man United, Arsenal, or Chelsea. It's
a mixture, and each time it'll be something different. What they can't afford to do, Newcastle, is overspend on players and pay the wages these players are demanding. They don't have the revenues for it yet. They will. I think they're still only bringing in 300 or 400 million a year. To put that into context, City spend more than that on their salaries. So you're limited. If for instance, if Mbeumo's being offered by Man United, by Arsenal, and by Spurs 150, 200 grand a week, if that's what Newcastle are going to get quoted by 4 or 5 players are trying to sign, they might end up in a situation where they can't afford. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Okay. So, but instead of signing 4 or 5 players, sign 3, but the 3 that you're signing are like better than the 5.
Yeah.
For me, it's quality over quantity, man. Like, I know everyone wants a big squad and that, yeah, but if you end up buying these players that Arsenal are the prime example. They signed Zinchenko, they signed Gabriel Jesus, bang, within a year. They're too good for these players now. These players are now sat on the books on 5-year contracts and they need to get rid of them. Why? Because they're not good enough. So this is what's going to happen to Newcastle. If they sign someone like Elanga, yeah, like he might be decent, but then if next year or the year after they become title challengers, they're going to have to sell him. And then you're going to be struggling because he's going to be sat there with 2 or 3 years not left for his contract.
If everyone obviously believes this is where Newcastle are at, good luck, Newcastle. Good luck keeping Bruno.
I think Newcastle are better than this, man. I think Newcastle are better than this. They're better than Elanga. Yeah, I think Elanga is a good player. Don't get it twisted. He's a good football player. And if they was getting him as a squad rotation, yeah, fairs. But they're not getting him as a squad rotation. They're buying him to start. And I think that is where the problem lies. They need better than that. They are now in the Champions League. Yeah, so they're going to be trying to win the Champions League. That's going to be it. They're going to try and win the Premier League and try and win another domestic cup. And for me, Elanga is not that guy. They need someone better.
I do agree that they should aim for someone better than him as well, by the way. Like in terms of Elanga, I think he had a very good season last year.
That's the main thing is like we're just like a bit, he's all right. I think we expected. I don't know. Maybe you guys thought Elanga was the type of player that Newcastle were going to go for, but I really thought Newcastle were going to go to the next level. I think what they need is to try and get as close as they can to the Tonali's and Bruno's and Isak signings that they brought in already. Because when they bought them in, no one was going, well, what are they going there for? They didn't go to Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea, and they were all in from. So I think when you look at it, I think Newcastle can attract. I just think that, I hope they don't, by the way. And I hope they lose Isak to Arsenal and all this, right? But I just feel, taking my Arsenal hat off, I think Newcastle should be in a good position this coming summer. But at the moment, it looks like you guys are right. Maybe the players don't want to go there. And they're like, nah, I'd rather go to United. Like for me, I would look right now and I go, I see where Newcastle are going. Man United, it's all a little bit up in the air. I'll go over to Newcastle. But he's obviously going to United because he's still got the pull of a massissive club and obviously the money. So, I'm surprised. I thought Newcastle would have moved a bit more mad, but maybe they will in the coming weeks.
They have to be careful, though, and it's the finances. So when you budget, right, for buying players, I want to make sure I say this in the right way. So, yes, they've got Champions League money, so they're going to buy players that are going to want Champions League wages. But give me an example. Their revenue is about £320 million a year. So again, City are currently spending 400 to 500 million a year. But that's because City's revenues, even if they lose Champions League football, you've still got more than enough revenue to cover your salaries. The problem is if they go out and buy 4 or 5 players, do a madness, put them all on £200,000 a week, is if they don't re-qualify for the Champions League, they're going to do what is now happening to Villa, which is they've got a fucking salary. Last season, Villa spent 97% of their turnover on salary. 90s. That would be the equivalent of City's salary bill being 900 million a year. It's ridiculous. And that's what that's just why when they get in the Champions League, they can't just go for broke. They can't, because if it goes wrong and they have a bad season, they have injuries, they miss out on the top 4, which is still plausible when you look at the other teams fighting for it. And the only reason they made Champions League this year is because Arsenal got to the semi-finals and United and Spurs inexplicably got to a Europa League final. If we'd have gone out in the early rounds when we were probably meant to, Newcastle wouldn't have got top, wouldn't have got. Do you know what I'm saying? So they've got to be careful. I think they've got to be careful because PSR, they're coming for points now. They're coming for points.
But in that situation though, yeah, if that did happen, then they just have to sell. They'd have to sell a prized asset, which they don't want to do. But that's what they'd have to do.
Well, that may be what they. This is the other side of it as well.